that game, and if you look at the yards in that game, they were pretty equal. That might have been a different game if they didn't have those turnovers. Both teams give up 6 yards per play. Minnesota has a harder schedule. Minnesota had 3 weeks to practice for the option. That's one problem with both teams, and I know Georgia Southern was able to pass this, but you give a team like 3 weeks to prepare for the option, they usually do better at it than like a short week or a normal week during the regular season, right? So I think from the eye test, Minnesota is more vulnerable to the pass than anything. God, I love how they stopped Jonathan Taylor against my Badgers, man. They stopped him. And that's what Georgia Tech does. They can cheat up in that box for the most part. Is Paul Johnson's departure a good thing? Maybe for seniors? What does the other team think? I don't know. I took a nibble, but that's it. And I don't recommend anything big on that. So
no, agreed.
So I'm with you there. Let's move on to, well, our teams, buddy. Let's move into the going head to head against you, man. The Pinstripe Bowl in New York. My Wisconsin.
Not nearly the stakes that were not nearly the stakes that were on the line last year in a New Year's Six type game.
No. It's so disappointing, these teams. My Wisconsin Badgers versus your Miami Hurricanes. It's about 3 now. When I wrote about this, it was 3.5. Miami over unders at 48, and now I just got the news yesterday morning. Hornibrook is not playing, which changes some things.
Does it change it for you? For me, it doesn't. Because, I mean, Jack Cohn's a Long Island kid. He's played. I think with a ton of friends and family who are going to be at the game, going home, play at Yankee Stadium. I would, if you liked Wisconsin in this game, I wouldn't get off it just because Hornibrook is not playing and Jack Cohn is playing. Look, Miami wasted a national championship caliber type defense this year with a horrific offense. And now you're laying points with a team that has had trouble scoring. There's a little bit of turmoil there with guys potentially talking about transferring, guys leaving for the NFL. Manny Diaz leaves and takes the head coaching job at Temple. Look, I've been talking about this with Steve and with Greg and Taylor on XM84 as well. There are a lot of very popular, trendy bowl underdogs, teams that the public is just pounding and just are all over. And they're the teams that you and I during the season when they're underdogs, like they're sharp plays during the season. Now they're like public, obvious plays. Like Wisconsin is a popular underdog. UCF's a popular underdog. Duke is a popular underdog. Oklahoma State is a popular underdog. All these teams that normally during the season we love taking it as a dog, now like the public's all over them. And that would worry me in some of these games where it looks like the stronger argument and the stronger side is the dog. I'd be a little bit careful.
Absolutely. My other Twitter handle is the public dog. It actually means I'm more fade. I actually look for public dogs to fade more than anything else, man. And you're right. It's scary, Wisconsin being a public dog, and maybe they just remember the Orange Bowl this year. Wisconsin, they returned everybody but Troy Fumagalli pretty much on offense, and then they became in one-dimensional, running the ball against those tomato cans like New Mexico and Western Kentucky. They forgot how to pass the ball, and then you had the Cephas problem, and then you had a bunch of injuries. Now Wisconsin's without Olive Sagapulu, their nose tackle that stops the run. They literally have a freshman defensive line. They converted an offensive tackle to defensive end this year just to fill the void, man. And it's hard to make an argument for Wisconsin for me, even with how terrible Miami was. Is Miami thinking revenge?
I don't think there's any revenge. I mean, there is no revenge for blowing a 2-touchdown lead on your home field in the Orange Bowl last year. The only thing that I could think of would be go out and maybe play for each other on defense. They realize you don't get many chances, and this could be the last time you're playing together, and you're playing an offense that has struggled. And Jonathan Taylor, the Doak Walker winner, is that would be the only, because I don't think many Miami fans are going to be at the stadium. I don't know how many Wisconsin fans will be there either, but both teams do have a good Northeast-based alma mater fan base. So we'll see how many of them make the trip out. But yeah, I'm not willing. I'm not like dying to jump in on this game on either side.
Yeah, Wisconsin does have a good Jersey base too. They recruit very well from there. And I thought the downgrade from Hornibrook to Cohen was about 2.5 points, but you made a great point. I didn't even think about that, of him being from New York. I knew that, but I didn't even think of that. So probably more of a stay away bowl. If anything over 5, you take the dog. That's in this bowl. Personally,
I doubt you're going to see 5 unless you want to tease it up, and I mean that might be the way to go. Maybe you take Wisconsin plus 9 or 9.5 potentially, and get it north of a touchdown.
Yeah.
The team that has a whole lot of trouble scoring touchdowns might be the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. Well, let's move on then. We have the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia. We have Michigan versus Florida. Florida now getting about 7.5-ish points. Over under is at 51, kind of a little bit of a lower total. As you said before, Michigan's without Rashawn Gary, Devin Bush. What do you think about this game?
I think the only way you can play the game is to play Florida. Maybe this will be after Harbaugh hearing about can't win the big game, that blowout loss at Ohio State. Embarrassing loss to South Carolina last year in the bowl game, in a game they had just put away before complete turnover, completely blew the game. Maybe they'll show up, and maybe the backups will come in and play. But you mentioned Gary and Bush. We mentioned Higdon as well. I think there are going to be more guys in secondary that probably won't play. And Dan Mullen in a bowl game in year 1, getting points. This is the type of game and the type of situation that he in Florida can really, really build on. So I would, if I were playing this game, everything we've talked about so far, I would think Florida plus 7.5 would be the way to go here. Yeah. I just don't know. Maybe the Michigan backups are coming in play, but if all those kids are leaving, not worrying about the draft, I would tend to be a little bit concerned about Michigan here.
Yeah, great points, but I think Michigan's their second string might be a little bit better. You have a Harbaugh that's been there for a few 3-4 years, and Mullen's first year over in Florida there. It's hard to say. What's Michigan's motivation now? Remember that last year the only Big Ten team, Big Ten was 7-1 in bowl games to lose, was Hold My Beer, Michigan. Right. And does that motivate this team to be like, look, we don't want to be the one that looks like crap this year. We had an awful loss against Ohio State. Let's prove that we're legit. What does that mean? I don't know. And it's hard to cap motivation here. I know Shea Patterson completed 64% of his passes. He's got a 21-5 TD interception ratio. But Mullen had Felipe Franks going really well, 23-5 TD to interception ratio at about 58% of his passes. You can't ask better for that kid. This year everyone was low on him coming in, and he did exactly what he had to do. Florida was a little bit of a surprise to their fans. They weren't supposed to be this good this quick. So very interesting points there. So we gave this game out to our members at -6 a long time ago before anything was announced. There's some line value now on the other side, and that's why if you predict the line value, sometimes you can make another decision, go higher, the same, or lower with your comeback bet. So possibly might be not a bad idea if you took Michigan at -6 because of the big guys sitting out, maybe to take a nibble on the other side and see if you can hit a middle there. Let's move in to the Outback Bowl in Tampa, Florida. We have Mississippi State versus Iowa. Iowa is getting 7 points. The over-under is 44. Like you said, Iowa's been a trendy dog. What's your thoughts? I'm
on Mississippi State here, and the fact that Sweat and Simmons are playing, that totally cements it. You're looking at an Iowa team that already was going to be having a lot of difficulty scoring points against defense, which I believe has allowed the fewest touchdowns in the country this year. I know that was true entering the Alabama game, so maybe that is still trying. I'd have to double check my numbers. Either way, they're like 1 or 2 in the country in touchdowns allowed. And now you've got a Hawkeye offense without Noah Fant. Doesn't this have the look of like a 20-7 type game? I think it's Mississippi State and under, even with a low total of 44. I can't see whatever Iowa's team total is. I certainly think the Iowa team total under would be a side to look at. But I think ultimately, if you look at the way the Bullies have finished the year off, big win in the Egg Bowl, played much better. I mean, played Alabama pretty well. Played LSU defensively. They played well. I just think that defensive front is going to give Iowa a ton of problems, and with no Fant in the lineup for Iowa, tough trend in scoring points.
God, both these teams were so disappointing with the amount of skill they had this year. Iowa look how close they were to winning at Penn State. You know, that interception on the 2-yard line blew that for them. They were close against Purdue, which was the next one. Northwestern, when they got
Wisconsin game, they led and allowed that late touchdown as well.
They were the better team. They were the better team that day, and they lost that game. And there's been dual action for the public and the sharps on Mississippi State bringing the spread from 5 to 7. And I'm going to be a little bit contrarian on this here. Iowa's without their tight end, Noah Fant. And just like you said, he's holding out for the draft. But they also have some banged-up tight ends. But I'd be pressed to think that there isn't another 6'7", corn-fed Iowa kid.
just like a linebacker, right? They always have someone who just it's like a mold. I mean, going back to like Larry Station, they've always said just throw another one in.
Exactly, just keep feeding them in. You know, I that can catch the ball and run a little bit, right? You know, I think both teams are better than what they showed during the regular season. Personally, I think. I mean, if you look at a lot of the power ratings, both teams are in the top 15. You know,
yep.
Yeah, both teams have top 6 defenses in the league. I think Mississippi State's defense is the second best in the SEC. Well, Georgia, you know, maybe with them, but you know, they both allow less than 300 yards per game. Offenses are kind of mediocre. You know, Fitzgerald's a running quarterback. Both teams had very hard schedules. Kirk Ferentz had more. I think he's got some more experience than Joe Moorhead, obviously, being at Iowa so long. I ran the numbers, and I ran the numbers because I see kind of equal hard schedules. I ran them through an algorithm. I got Mississippi State winning 23-20.5. So I'm going to go by it. I'm going to take Iowa. I'm going to take the dog. I'm going to go against you on this one. And the low total just tells me to do that. It's just kind of automatic. You see 44 at 7.
That's the whole purpose of having a good set of power ratings and numbers that you buy and numbers that you believe. You just got to believe and support your numbers and go with that. That's nothing wrong with that. You don't got to apologize for going with what your power ratings or your numbers are telling you to do. The whole purpose of them.
Absolutely, but I also see what you said. It could be a 20-7 game. Right? I mean, maybe Iowa doesn't score here too at the same time, but you know, we'll see what this comes. It's almost a force bet, like I have to, or why the hell do I even have power ratings type thing? So I felt the need. Let's move on then to the Alamo Bowl. San Antonio, Texas. You have Iowa State versus Washington State. Washington State is favored by 3.5 points. Over under is at 55. Remember the Alamo? Well, I don't remember the Alamo, but I do remember that bad beat in the Alamo Bowl in 2016 when TCU was down 31-0 at halftime, and Gary Patterson changed his clothes, came back to win the game 47-41 without Trayvon Boykin and Josh Doxson. What a game.
It was, and I think this game has the potential to be a really fun, high-scoring. And I think of all of the bowl games, including the New Year's Six games, like the game I'm looking forward to watching the most is this one. You got 2 great fan bases, 2 really good stories, 2 fun teams to watch. And I like the clones on the field, though. I think if you look at what Iowa State did in Ames to